Well, hello everybody, welcome back to my studio. This is Natifa. I'm going to walk you all through how I created this Mad Hatter themed envelope. So today I'm using some distressed craft stock paper. This is like one of my favorite papers to use when I'm using the distressed watercolor pencils, which is what I'm going to use in here. And I'm just taking, I don't know what size it is. I think it's like a 4x6.5. And I'm using my envelope punch board to punch this out. So this envelope punch board is really easy to use. A lot of people ask me about it. And when I got it, I just followed the instructions and I was able to learn how to use it relatively easily. So if that's something you're interested in purchasing, if you're going to be doing a lot of envelopes, I would encourage you to purchase one of these. You can obviously cut out envelopes different ways, but this is the easiest way to do so if you want different sizes of envelopes. So it's super easy. You just have to punch out the different squares or the different little cutout parts, and then you score it with the little scoring tool right there. And you just sort of turn it around. Again, it's super easy to use. So just kind of keep going with it. And if you guys want me to put together a video on how to use this specifically, let me know and I'll put together a video for us. So next I'm going to be using this die set from Holtz. This is it's kind of like an everyday bold text dies. It's just a nice one that you can use with a variety of different things. So I'm using the hello there. Even though this is a Mad Hatter type design, I wanted it to be a little bit nice still, you know, like just hello there. I'm kind of crazy. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. But I wanted to test out the wings that I'm going to be using on here for kind of like the hair, because I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to like overlap on the words. And so I'm trying to do a little bit of a composition to see what's going to work well for this design. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. So I will show you guys exactly what impresslet and dice that I'm using with the hats, the tailored hats and the collar and the wings in a second. So here are the designs that I'm using, the dies that I'm using for this project. It is the new Holtz tailored design, and I think it's really fun to use. So yeah. So after this, I typically will take this and run this entire thing through my die cutting machine. I have a Switch Plus and just cut out the entire words out of there, and it's super easy to do. So I'm going to use the distressed watercolor pencils to color the background. I wanted to use fossilized amber for this one because I wanted a yellow background. I wanted something a little bit kind of cheery and fun, I guess. Even though it's kind of a Mad Hatter one. I don't know. Just go with it, guys. So I'm going to color the entire back of this envelope with the pencil, and then I'm going to add some water to it. So that's what you guys see me doing here. And it was at this moment that I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot to use the stamp set that I wanted to use. I wanted to stamp the background of this first before I colored it, and I forgot. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I'm glad I remembered kind of in the middle there. So I used this Exquisite stamp set to kind of stamp my background and kind of go from there. So I grabbed the stamps out, and now I'm going to go through and I'm going to actually stamp the entire background with some distress archival inks, because I just wanted a little bit more texture to the background of the envelope. So once I am done with this stamping, I am going to go back through my pencil again and start filling out the rest of it. And to be honest, I think I put a little bit too much of the pencil on here because it was super duper yellow. I wanted to be able to see the stamped images a little bit better, but whatever, you can still kind of see when you kind of go through. It's just a background, so there's no big worries there. So I'm using my heat tool here to dry this. And as I'm adding additional water to this, I'm trying to create some water spots where because again, on this paper, this pencil does some weird oxidation. So I'm trying to get some oxidation on the paper in different spots because it just looks super duper yummy. So typically when I do water on this paper, it'll kind of start to curl. So I like to flip over my paper and use some water to kind of water the backside, and that'll kind of help it flatten out. So that's what I'm doing here. Okay, now I'm going to switch over to coloring my top hat. I'm going to use Prize ribbon for this one. And I am going to start saturating the top portion of the hat with that blue color, because again, the thing about these pencils is that they're just really amazing when you are using them with craft stock. And the craft stock is really, it just oxidizes them, so you don't really need a whole lot to kind of create I guess the look, at least that I was going for. So I'm using barn door for this little band for the hat. And then I'm going to dry this. And after I dry it, I'll start putting the hat together. So I'm using some collage medium here to put the band on the hat, and that's really kind of the final piece of the hat to make it kind of complete. And I'll show you guys the hat in a minute so you can see what it looks like. I kind of like how it turned out. Look at that. So now moving on to the collar for this envelope. I am still learning how all the dies work, to be honest with you all. I really just started using dies like last year, so it's sort of a learning curve for me, but I think I figured this one out. I ended up gluing down the collar, which you can leave up if you want to. I think it's supposed to be up, but I glued it down, so whatever. I started then using my distress pencils to color the different parts of the collar and gluing them, as you can see, gluing them together so I can kind of go down. I mean, since this is going through the mail, I mean, maybe gluing down is probably the best, but whatever. So that's what you see me doing here.
To be happy, you can do whatever you like. You don't have to be ready. You just gotta trust the right. Don't have to be scary. You just gotta follow the light. You're able to be happy. You can do whatever you like. You don't have to be ready. You don't have to be. There's so many ways to be happy. You can do whatever you like. You don't have to be ready. You just gotta trust the right. Don't have to be scary. You just gotta follow the light. You're able to be happy. You can do whatever you like. You don't have to be ready. You don't have to be.
So now I'm just going to start putting this together because I have completed the hat and I've completed the collar. I really wanted to do, again, my wings, and I have a little bit of a additional piece that I wanted to add on there. And I thought that this is crackling campfire. I thought it would be really, really pretty against the yellow with the blue. And it's kind of the color of the inspiration that I saw for this envelope for the hair, kind of a Mad Hatter type hair, but with wings. So I'm going to just go through and do this. So now I did this twice, because when I first cut out or die cut this wing and I was coloring it, I found that it had cracked, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. I was kind of like, see right there. So I did it all over again, and this time I was a little bit more, I think I spritzed water on my paper before I die cut it, and it was a little bit better. So I went back through and I colored it with the Distress watercolor pencil in Crackling Campfire, and then I painted it with some water again. I was a little bit less generous with the water this time because I didn't want it to get too like cracked or whatever. So that's what I did there. So now I'm going to go through here and I'm going to use some Distress ink to, I think this is Ground Espresso, and I'm going to just distress the outside of the envelopes, the wings, and also just kind of distress on top of like the raised edges of that wing. So I wanted it to be a little bit more vintagey looking, kind of grunge, and that's what I'm doing here. So next I'm going to go through and I'm going to start painting this little background to go behind the hello there. I'm using prize ribbon as well again to kind of match the hat, and look how that oxidizes. But it's to match the hat and the collar, and so it fits right in there. Looks beautiful. I didn't want to do a little dimension for this one, like a little have it like be raised. It was just going to be too messy, and I had to cut all the little foams, and I was not interested in doing that. So I just sort of glued this down with some collage medium and kind of kept it there. You have to be really careful when you're doing this, because if your glue gets onto your paper with your pencil, because it's water soluble, it's gonna like create kind of a weird thing. So just be careful when you're doing that. And guys, I'm really sorry, I forgot to record when I was stamping and distressing the actual envelope, so you can see some additional textures there, so sorry. But onto, now I'm just sort of putting this together. So that's that little button I've been talking about this entire time. That button just sort of gave me this idea of like, ooh, like what if this this person was like asking, like, or saying to somebody, ask me. But it was kind of weird, like it was like their face, but it was, I don't know, my mind was in somewhere completely kind of weird, so sorry. But yeah, so I'm gonna start putting this together. I'm kind of marking out where I want the wings to go, and I'm gonna put some foam tape onto the back of this. And then I'm going to start gluing it down, or kind of taping it down, because I want it to go first, and then I can put the collar underneath it, and I can put the hat on top of it to kind of see where the button's going to go. So I'm just going to let you guys watch me put this together, and we'll kind of go from there. Okay, so the glue I'm using to glue this down is called the Ultimate. This is my favorite tacky glue. I typically would use this when I have to glue things like the button down onto something. So that's what I'm using here, and kind of putting that on there, making sure it doesn't get too crazy. It does dry clear, so I get it from Hobby Lobby, and it's like ridiculously thick. Once you use this thing, it's not moving after that. So use it wisely. Okay, so now I'm gonna go on to the envelope liner. I've started doing envelope liners recently in my envelopes because I also create digital envelopes as well that I sell in my on my website that people can download and cut out, and all of those have envelope liners, and I love them. I think they're just really beautiful. I think it's just a nice surprise when somebody opens your envelope to see just a liner inside. So that's what I'm doing here, and I typically would just kind of trace out the flap and just make it a little bit smaller, and then I will cut out the triangle portion of it and chop that off in half, because you don't really need the whole entire thing to be lined. You just kind of need it to go halfway. So as you can see what I'm doing here, I colored the inside with crackling campfire with that distress pencil, and it oxidized beautifully. And now I'm just going to go back through it and glue this resist craft paper by Tim Holtz to the flap. So it's not perfect, but that doesn't matter. It just needs to be good enough, as good as you can get it. So I just really love these.
Can see your eyes, your head is full of dreams. Tears are proof of failure. You just gotta let them flow.
So I wanted to add a little bit of something to the hat, and I decided to use some rub-ons from Tim Holtz on the top of the hat there, just to kind of give a little bit of extra, I don't know, something, you know. So that's what I'm doing here.
Follow the light, you're able to be happy. You can do whatever you like.
And so now it's time to start putting this envelope together. I'm just using some hot glue. I use hot glue for all of my envelopes like this to kind of secure them together, because it's paper and it's gonna be fine. And then I decided I wanted to do something on the front. So I'm gonna work on the front flap with another hat and some wings. So I'm coloring the hat the same color prize ribbon as I did on the back side of the envelope, just to kind of keep the consistency on there. And I'm going to color the band with barn door again, and kind of just go from there.
You don't have to be ready. You just gotta trust the right. Don't have to be scary. You just gotta follow the light. You're able to be happy. You can do whatever you like. You don't have to be ready. You don't have to be
So here I'm just going to go back in and color another impress-lit wings to go on the front, and trying to be very careful with my water so I don't get any cracks in this one, and it came out just perfect. So I'm going to use some Velcro circles to secure this envelope. I'm finding that I think I'm going to be using these a lot, just snipping off some extra fuzz. But I think the Velcro is a much better way to close it, especially if you have like, you know, kind of like how I have the hat and the wing on the back side and a flap. It just, I don't know, it works. And if you have more things inside of your envelope, then by all means. So here's the final product, you guys. I hope you all enjoyed watching this. It was fun for me to make. It was kind of a weird theme, but I really enjoyed making it. So if you have any questions about anything, go ahead and leave me a comment and I will try to answer that for you. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to subscribe and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.